Hey girls and guys, welcome to the portswigger Web Security Academy. You will require the following in order to participate: Burp Suite Community Edition download plus an account on the portswigger Academy. If you haven't, then go and check out my other video, how to download and install Burp Suite Community Edition. I've also got a video up how to install Foxy Proxy and how to set up your CA certificate. If you haven't got an account, take the time to register, set one up, and then log in. Once you're logged in, go to the Academy tab in order to begin with the free lab. Today we will begin by solving Lab 1 on portswigger SQL injection. What is a SQL injection? It is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to interfere with the queries that an application makes to its database. It generally allows an attacker to view data that they are not normally able to retrieve or view. What's the impact of a successful SQL injection attack? A successful SQL injection attack can result in unauthorized access to sensitive data such as passwords, credit card details, personal user information. Many high-profile data breaches in recent years have been the result of a SQL injection attack, leading to reputational damage and regulatory fines. SQL injection examples: there's a wide variety of SQL injection vulnerabilities, attacks, and techniques. Some common examples are retrieving hidden data, subverting application logic, union attacks, examining the database, blind SQL injection. I'm going to right click and open up the lab. The description says this lab contains a SQL injection vulnerability in a product category filter. When the user selects a category, the application carries out a SQL query like the following. To solve the lab, perform a SQL injection attack that causes the application to display details of all the products in any category, both released and unreleased. I'm going to right click and open up the lab. On the application landing page, if I scroll down, I can count a total of 12 products. With Burp open at the bottom of my screen, bottom half of my screen, Intercept is on and Foxy Proxy in my browser switched on. I'm going to click on the gifts category. Watch how Burp captures the request in the lower half of my screen. The capture causes the page to hang, so you have to click forward a few times in order to allow the request to pass through Burp. And you can see get request filter category equals gifts. And if I click forward a few times, we're now on the gifts page. There are only 3 products displayed. Keep clicking forward a few times to allow the request to pass through Burp. And if you look at the heading plus the URL, you will see that the product category is equal to gifts. In order to test and see if this application is vulnerable to SQL injection, I'm going to add in an equal sign apostrophe and then hit enter and see what happens. You'll notice that Burp captures the request by pressing forward a few times, allows all the other requests to pass through, and eventually you'll see on the screen an internal server error. This tells me that this application is vulnerable to SQL injection. In Burp, go to the Proxy tab, then go to HTTP history, scroll down to the bottom and click on this get request. If I make this slightly bigger, you can now see both the request and the response. The response showing what we saw in the GUI. This is a handy way to get comfortable viewing and understanding code inside of Burp. So on my left, if I highlight, you can see the request, gifts equal, and on the response on the right, you can see that it's giving us the internal server error. If I highlight in the request column, a gift equals %27. If you look on the far right hand side of the screen, you can see how Burp is automatically URL encoding the request for us. What is URL encoding? Let's go to my favorite website, W3Schools, to learn what URL encoding is. URL encoding converts characters into a format that can be transmitted over the internet. URLs can only be sent over the internet using ASCII. URL encoding replaces unsafe ASCII characters with a % followed by 2 hexadecimal digits. URLs cannot contain spaces. URL encoding normally replaces a space with a plus sign or with %20. Scrolling down further, you will find a huge ASCII encoding table, and there's the space %20 and the apostrophe is %27. To further check the SQL injection, I'm going to add in a double dash after the apostrophe in the URL to see what happens. A double dash sequence is a comment indicator in SQL, and it means that the rest of the query is interpreted as a comment. If I forward the request in burp, you will now see that the page loads normally without showing any products. This makes me very confident that this application is vulnerable to SQL injection. Our goal is to view all of the products, both released and unreleased. I'm going to add the following to the URL, or 1 equals 1 after the apostrophe and before the double dash. This results in the SQL query select from all products where category equals gifts, or 1 equals 1 and released equals 1. This modified query will return all items where either the category is gifts or 1 equals equal to 1. Since 1 equals 1 is always true, the query will return all items. So if I click forward and I keep going until it is clear on the burp side, and if I look at the shop now, there's what I entered into the heading and the URL, and if I scroll down now, we can see that there are 20 products in total, and where before there was only 12 products. So we have successfully SQL injectioned this application, and if I keep clicking forward a few times, the requests will eventually see "Congratulations, you've solved the lab" pop up. You just click refresh the page, click forward, and congratulations, you've solved your first lab. I am now switching off Foxy Proxy in my browser, plus turning the intercept off in burp. Going back to what I showed you earlier about using HTTP history tab, in here you can see the GET request plus the 200 OK response. If you scroll down in the response column, you will see the pop-up message, "Congratulations, you solved the lab." Plus, scrolling further will show you all of the 20 products listed.